I
You.
recognize your name. It's nice to finally see you. I send you guys stuff all the time, and I hope you're okay with that.
Hi, Austin.
Or more like a you, right? We don't know how that is gonna affect us. Did anybody see Gary yesterday? Anybody on the call? And it's on our Facebook group, so you can share it out with your team. Um, so in the last shift though, the beautiful things that came out of the last shift were bold and also the shift book. So um, I know Tanya and Corinne and your whole crowd and Dwight have been sharing what to do on this call in your classes, in the huddles. And so does everybody here, would you know what to do? In this case, increase lead generation by 4 hours, to 4 hours, right? Can I get a show of hands? Anybody? I know I love it interactive. So if you guys can help me out, it gives me energy. Everybody know what to do? What do you think, Dwight? Are you sharing a few things?
My hand isn't showing up because I have my virtual back. I have my hand up.
So Dwight, you're telling your people what, sharing the shift ideology with them. I have a feeling, right?
We have been, yeah. I think I think the staff has been doing a great job of sharing what's working. Our agents have stepped up and share what's working on a daily basis with them, and so I really do believe we're doing a good job that way.
Yeah. So a lot of it is, if you look in the shift book on page 81, it says this. It says, oddly, the tendency of most agents in a shifting market is to cocoon, right? Just to wander around the office and stay home for things to change. And obviously, that's a mistake. A shift requires you to do very specific things every day. And yesterday, I think it was, Tanya said, Susan, I think mindset is where we need to go a little bit. I know she's lined some people up for that. Okay. And I'm going to touch on it a little bit today. Because Diana Kokoska, just like in that hurricane, right? And just like in the last shift, and then this shift, there's one decision. And one time I was at Coach's Skills Camp, and Diana Kokoska, how she could sear you, right? And like I felt there were 400 people in the class, and she literally looked out, and I knew she was just talking to me, and she said, there's really only one decision to make, and it's to decide. And she said, do you really understand like where the etymology of decide comes from? Like, where does that word come from? It means to cut off. It means to literally sever. Like, so when you decide something, you're going to move towards it. And no matter what happens, it's a matter of how long it's going to take you to get there. Does that make sense? So my question to you is, what do you want your business to look like 4 to 6 months from now? And thinking about what that looks like, and then what is the bridge that's going to get you there. So this past week, Corinne and I were talking about, there was a great video from Jordan Freed, and it's called Pivot from Fear. And I put that in your coaching recap, Corinne. So if you can share that with everybody, and then also the piece that is the COVID-19 survival kit. And they're both pieces from Jordan Freed. And the gist of it is this. When Osama bin Laden, when that crew was going in for him, right? And the military has an acronym. It's called PACE, primary objective, alternate. This is that time when you're like going, I know there's a C. Anybody in the military here? Oh, here we go. Contingency plan and emergency plan. Okay. And so he went through this piece. And when they went after Osama bin Laden, if everybody knows that story, literally that helicopter broke. So they literally had to figure out how to deal with that. And they had a contingency plan. They'd worked all that out, right? Can you imagine if they hadn't? I mean, they were behind that wall with the most wanted man, and how to figure all that out. Okay, so Jordan went through that, and basically like think about primary objective of getting all of your contracts to close. That might be page 246, which is like bulletproofing your transactions. The alternate might be your SBA loan that you applied for. Contingency plan might be reducing budgets, personal and business. And then your emergency plan, and this is where Jordan put together this COVID-19 survival kit, and you guys are going to get that today. Corinne's going to send that out. And what that is, there's about, gosh, I think there's like 25 things in that, ways that you can replace income as an agent. Now he said, please tell them 1, 2, 3 things. Don't work on that whole list. You'll go crazy. And there's examples. He's sharing what you could do, and then there's also live links of what his clients are doing. And he's a MAPS coach for agents. Okay. I just wanted to give you guys a deliverable of that. And at the very end, you know, if you've got kids and if we don't do any of those things, what we call little monsters become big monsters, right? And the best way to get those monsters out of a kid's room at night is to what? Anybody want to speak up on that one? Well, it's to open all the doors, shine the light, right? Shine the light and open the door. And so this is all this is. And once we name it and we say, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? I think my dad must have been, you know, he was in the military. And so anytime I would have fear around something, he would say that to me. He'd say, what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, is that really that bad? What could we do to overcome that? And then so it really helped me with that. So I hope that helps you today. Then, and when Tanya reached out to me, I said, okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an exercise today. Okay. So has everybody got something that they can write on? And I reached out to one of our MAPS transformational coaches. And I said, have you got an exercise that I can do with this crowd to help them get through this moment? Everybody got something they can write on? Yeah. I'll give you a minute. And Tanya, would you do me a favor and type this in the column in the chat bar so that people can maybe copy and paste it if they don't? That would be super helpful. Okay. So I'm going to ask you like 6 questions, okay? So, and Tanya's going to be our scribe over here in the chat bar. Thank you, girl. So when all this is over, how will you have shown up? And just write the questions because this is going to be homework for you, okay? The second question, so that's when all this is over, how will you have shown up? And, you know, let's say it's 4 to 6 months from now. What will your story be? What will your story be? The third one is what if you changed your perspective on it? Like maybe that it's not such a bad thing, it's not a negative thing, right? Like what good is coming out of this? So what if you changed your perspective if it's a negative one, right? So what if it were a blessing, right? Now the next question is this, and this is, you know, in MAPS we do a lot of journaling. So the next one is, how can you create that? How can you create that? Now, so when you're doing affirmations, we like them to be pretty strong and powerful, right? So that we're going to create an affirmation out of something that you answer a question around. So and it will be like this. So in moments of choice, that's how your affirmation is going to start out. In moments of choice, I choose to be, and it's going to be the answer of how you want to show up. So the answer you had for how you want to show up, the number one question that we wrote there. So it'd be in moments of choice, I choose to be. And so my current affirmation for me is answering so my current affirmation for me is empowering authentic partnerships that produce success, growth, and opportunity. So in moments of choice, I choose to be empowering authentic partnerships that produce success, growth, and opportunity. And that was pre-COVID, and I think I'm still there. So in doing that, we're choosing what we want. We're deciding what this is going to look like. I was on a call with another person this week. How many of you guys have been in bold? Anybody been in bold on this call? Yeah. So in bold, we write that letter that's like a year later. And one of the things I heard on this call, and I thought, man, that's so great. So what if we sent ourselves a letter for October or September or August, wherever you think you're going to need the most impact? And it's all around these questions and then what you want to see on the other side of that. I can tell you when we were in that hurricane, here's what happened. So I'm going to finish up with that. When we were in that hurricane and Keller Williams came to us and did all that, right? The next week, I had to go to Coach's Skills Camp. It was like the second year I was a coach. And so I was fairly new. And Diana said, I really want you up on stage. We need to raise money for KW Cares. And I went, okay, I can do this. It was hard, right? Because this happened the week before. I mean, that whole scene had happened the week before. And so when I got up there, I got a little emotional, because it was an emotional time. And Diana carried the crowd. And then she looked straight at me and I looked at her and I said, thanks for saving me. And she said, honey, you do not ever need saving. And I want to share that with everybody here today, that you're creative, resourceful, and whole, and that we need to decide, right, of what we want our business to look like in 6 months, who we want to be known for. We need to affirm ourselves daily with that, and we need to make that happen for ourselves. So shortly after that, I went home. We raised a lot of money. It was a whole room. It was Advanced Coaches Skills Camp. Ton of money for that. And when I got home, our region, the Bold scholarships, we had OPs in our region that had all given us Bolds. And so literally every person in our office went to Bold. And at a time when the inventory in our market was down, all the houses, and I'm not talking just some of them, all the houses, 12% of them were flooded or affected in some way in our community. And in that time, that was October, and in that time in January, we had our biggest January ever. I got to tell you, it was the funkiest Bold I've ever been in. When we walked into that Bold, I mean, you got to imagine now, our mindsets were a hot mess, and Tammy Younks did that Bold. And we'd still talk about it. We were on a call the other day, and literally it got us into production. So in that, there was one other fellow that I just want to tell a quick story. His name was Roland Bowen, and he was on our ALC, and he wore the KW shirt. He wore the Baptist Men. He wore he wore every shirt. At the end of that 5 days, Keller Williams was heading out to Wilmington, North Carolina, which was also heavily affected. And when they went down there, before they left, he said, do you think everybody's taken care of? And I said, well, yeah. I mean, I think we're all 22 of our people. We've taken care of their houses and their families. And he said, well, could I have a generator? Because you got to realize we had no power. We had no water because our water systems were down. And he said, could I have a generator? We had to have gas, gas and some fans. And I said, well, sure. Did you not get one? Because all of our, when I say 22 sheets, these were major repairs. I'm not even talking about all the generators and stuff just to get through the day. You know what I mean? That was pretty much the whole market center, unless you had a generator already. And I said, have you not got one? His wife's at home on bed rest, right? And he literally, so leaders eat last, right? And so he literally You just amaze me. So my question for you is, who are you going to take with you? Like, who are you going to shepherd through this that's maybe not able to do that for themselves right now? Okay. So that's kind of what I had, and I wanted to leave like 8 or 10 minutes for some questions, and if you guys have any, I'm open. So please unmute, and I'm pretty open. So I hope you're figuring that out by now. So
Hey, Susan, I have a question.
sure.
Um, in our state, unlike New York and California,
Right.
real estate activities have been an essential activity, which has allowed our agents to continue with real caution to do real estate activities, right? Perform their activities. And
That's
we,
awesome.
we spent quite a bit of time talking about, being a first position realtor, which we picked up. I picked up, I think, on the national calls as kind of a buzzword for this event. And I think it's so appropriate. Can you speak to that? We've talked about it quite a bit on these calls. It looks like we'll probably emerge from this thing within 30 days. So what are people saying? What are they doing to?
So I'm going to finish your question because you broke out there. So you're asking me, what does it mean to be a first position realtor to break out the front of the pack?
What's the discussion around that you're hearing on your calls?
Sure. So, yeah. So what I'm hearing is, and I heard this morning, and I thought it was just a great analogy from Terry Foster Allen. It was, think about the Kentucky Derby, right? And think about those horses train foundationally, like they're ready to go, right? And when they're getting ready to take off, they're all in that gate, and they're all pushing, and some of them can't even do the race because they blow up in the gate, right? So to me, a first position, and so then they fling the gates open and you run, right? I've also heard another analogy of like having a big giant rubber band around you, because I think visually we need to think about ourselves that way, and we're working to push ourselves out of that rubber band. Then all of a sudden that rubber band, it becomes a slingshot. Okay, if you think about it coming from the other side. So in this market, I think there's some things that are going to foundationally change. I think that people are going to get very used to doing virtual. Okay. And I'm talking not just agents, I'm talking about customers and consumers. So I think foundational elements for us are things like what we're doing right now. How versed are you at doing this with a client? Because even when we push out, do you think everybody's still going to want to get in a room with people like immediately? And then some people, will they want to do it ever? Because the mega agents that I've known, okay, have adopted this a long time ago. And there's one reason. It's because they can do more listing appointments. Does that make sense? So instead of driving all over the place in traffic and everything like you guys have, I remember hearing Michael Manley about 5 years ago talk about this. He said, I have kids, right? And the last thing I want is people coming over to my house and taking up hours and hours of time. Right? And so if I could do a Zoom thing and then have somebody just come over and view the house at a later date, and put me and my wife in a room, and we could do this and get through the paperwork. The one thing I heard from Ashley this past week is when they're going on listing appointments, there's one person. There's not another. People are not having multiple people come right now, right? And so on the James Shaw call this morning, or yesterday, actually, I think I heard it. They're actually keeping up with how many calls they make. So they had 40 contacts, and literally half of them, and they didn't take it there. The client took it there, took it to real estate. Okay, so if you're looking to have 20 contacts that are going to be talking to you about real estate, for them, and this was up in New York City, okay, it was 40 contacts. So it's getting your database where it needs to be. If you've got it in command, awesome. Whatever database you're using, make sure it's a productive one. It's learning how to do what we're doing, which is be virtual from the time you take the lead all the way to the close. Gary Keller has said that, right? how are you holding yourself accountable to doing the work for lead generation? I would tell you that Bold's coming up, Bold Pivot. And Gary's like, we will have education through Keller Williams International. Obviously, Bold Pivot is going to be a huge piece. So we want everybody in that class, and that's why we're making it $99. So, and so for May 5th, you're going to have 4 days of MAPS coaches talking to you for 2 hours each day with your getting your lead production right. It's like you're in that gate at the Kentucky Derby, and you've got the right jockey, you've got a horse that's in order, and you've got the reins in the right position, your mindset's good, and you're going to roll. The other piece is scripts and dialogue. So the scripts and dialogue that are on Pivot, there's on KW Command, and if you guys would make sure you're showing that full page, there it is fantastic. Click on KW Command off of My KW, right? And that one page, if you roll down, it's got every resource you need. Videos, it's got the scripts, it's got like everything with Keller Williams Mortgage. And so if you look at that Keller Williams Mortgage, it's got text to send, letters to send. I mean, whatever you want to do right there. So again, that one page is your guide to be that person that's going to come out at the Kentucky Derby as the first horse, if you think. And so, and again, I'm just going to say, you have to decide that you want to engage, right? Do you want to get in that group with the horses? And, and so it's all mindset to me. You've got to start with a decision to be successful. Did that answer your question, Dwight?
Yeah, it did. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, and Keller Williams International is working very hard. I have never seen a company pivot the way they did in the first 2 weeks, ever. And, other companies are not doing that, by the way. I just got off of a call this morning where team leaders are sending out the resources that we have, and other agents are forwarding it to their whole offices because they don't have it.
We're going to do that with you today. Thank you.
There you go. So, I mean, seriously, actually, that recording is going to be on my, on my Facebook group. So you'll see it. She's got the exact, like how she's doing it and everything. So you'll see that. Okay.
Susan,
any other questions?
Thank you so much for being here. I know you got to jump off.
I do. So guys, call, text, and know that Keller Williams is all in this with you. And if you can get in Bold Pivot, that's the way to have a coach for $99 for an entire month. And, I would say if you're going to do one thing, go to the Pivot Command page. It's on Command, right? And then get in Bold and get yourself ready, like Dwight was saying, to be that first horse out of the gate. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later. All right. Take care.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, don't head out, people. We're not done yet.
Those are some great, powerful messages from Susan about, just getting your mindset right? Making the choice. So I love that. We'll send out those questions that she presented, and it's a great time to think about those over the weekend, because on Monday's call, Tanya has arranged for some life coaches, life wellness coaches to come on, and we're kind of going to veer away from business and just talk about like regular mental health, stress, all of those things, affirmations. So those will tie in great. So that's a really good thing to think about over the weekend.
I also want to say regarding those guys, once they come on, you'll have access to their information, and they will be providing free counseling for anyone in our community through this COVID-19. So if you don't want to interact with them at all during the Zoom, you can hear about them, see what their focus is, and then you'll be able to reach out to them directly afterwards to get free counseling if you need it.
And those are one-on-one sessions that they're offering for free. So
yep.
That's pretty remarkable. and you know, we just want to keep sending the message to you guys that, I mean, we really do care about you. We're talking a lot about business on these calls because we want to help drive your business, but we care about each and every one of you as individuals and all of the things you're going through, managing the isolation and working from home and kids at home and everything like that. So, we do care. And I love that story that Susan told about the hurricane and how they had people living in her market center. So if you need something, help, business or otherwise, please reach out to any one of us in leadership and let us know how we can help. There's been some great ideas thrown around about different funds from other agents. We do have our KWPP Cares with funds available if there are certain circumstances, and we also have a lot of resources that we can connect you with. So please don't be afraid to reach out if you are struggling with anything. We're here for you on that. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about last call on Wednesday. Jay Saramark was here and showing us in Command how to do a campaign and get the results. So right after our call, Marcella, are you on, Marcella? I guess I should check.
I don't see her. I'm texting her.
Okay. Well, wait, I'll just intro it though. But Marcella did an ad right after that call for their team with a listing that they have. And she, you know, right after the call, just follow Jay's instructions. She got 1 lead that day and then 4 leads yesterday. So with spending a minimal amount of money, just following the steps that that Jay said, they got 4 leads out of very minimal money. If she jumps on, she can share a little bit more about that. Or Dwight, do you want to, or Chris, do you guys want to share anything about that if you know?
I just texted her to see, I know we've got a meeting at noon and then another, she's doing some CMA things, but basically she followed Jay's protocol that he outlined in Command with one of our listings that's $1.7 million and just came on the market. And she had 1 response the first afternoon, and then I think she had 4 more yesterday. And I'm not sure she spent any money. I actually haven't talked to her about that. She may not have. So I thought, oh my gosh, to get 5 leads right now on a property like that is really pretty amazing. So, and that's exactly what Jay was telling us on the call.
Right, that's great. If anyone else did a paid campaign after that and wants to chime in or share anything, please do. We did get the link to the 15-second video he was talking about. Maybe Austin or Tommy, you guys could share that in the chat. It is on the Facebook page, also in the comments. But that's a great thing to share because you don't have to create any content. If you're a newer agent, you don't have to even have a listing. And it's just going to create awareness and, a great little video. So without even having to create content, you can get a campaign going out. So,
and she texted me that she just posted it on her Facebook page. So everyone should be able to see it there.
Awesome. So go check that out, what Marcella did. But, and then if Jay did go too fast, you can go rewatch that or any of his videos. I watch a lot of his videos to learn things about Command. And then we're going to keep on these calls doing little quick Command, like here's the tip of the day from Command. So Tanya, I'm going to turn it over to you to show something today.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to show really quick how you can market one of your listings through Command and direct mailers. And I'm actually going to borrow Dwight's listing. So the very first thing that you would do is you go right to campaigns, and then you come up here to direct mail. And then I'm going to create a new campaign, and I'm going to hit direct mail. And then I'm going to advertise a listing. And I'm just going to use a default template that they already have in here just to make it easy on me. Oh, got to do a name. I'm going to just call it a test too, because I delete all these. And then I'm going to find the listing. So I actually pulled Dwight's listing because it was easy to find. I knew he had it. I got to show all listings so that I can grab it. And the listing populates with all of the information in here. I can put in just listed that I want to have on there. Bedrooms, I don't know how many there are. I'm just going to plug in some. And bathrooms, we'll say there's 3.5 bathrooms. Then you come to the listing photo. It actually grabs the photos right here. But I did find, because this is a postcard and you want high quality images, the images that are uploaded into RMLS, they lose their quality. So you actually want to grab the photo from your computer. So let me see, I got it here on downloads. Maybe that should be, and if it's not good enough, it'll show you the resolution needs to be bigger. If you use your actual photos that you received from your photographer, then those would be best to upload in here. So I'm just gonna grab any image on my computer that I know, oh, that one's not big enough either. Here, we'll just use J. That one's big enough. And then it automatically populates with Dwight as the listing agent because he is the listing agent on this. So I can come in, if it's your listing, you'll be able to, it'll just fill your information out. But if it's not and you're doing it with someone else's, market, say you're doing an open house for someone and you want to do a print mail for it, then you change this information to yours. The market center automatically populates in as our market center, and you need to plug this in real quick. And I want to do all this because I want to show you the next page. The address, confirm it. The targeting, I'm going to do a local targeting, and the next page will show you what we're doing. One of the cool things about this is you can choose. It automatically sets at 200 postcards, first class, and you can choose which one you want. I'm going to say I'm going to go to this one over here, and the price will change. But what's really cool is I can come down here, and if I only want to send it out to 25 people, I can send it out to 25 people, and now my price changes. So my budget's only $22.55. A lot of places that you do mailing from, they have a minimum of 150 or 200 postcards, so you can't do any less than that. And then the next thing that you want to do is, or you can come down here and you can do a tracking, and then I can send them to a page on my website that I want it to go to. And then you click configured targeting and say yes. And even though I'm saying yes, it's not pushing the order for me through, so I'm not actually having to pay yet. But this is the part that's really cool. So I can target homes around the address that's actually listed for sale, or if I want to go to a different address and target people in that area that I think might be coming here. So maybe we've got, I know we have New York is a big place of people wanting to come to Oregon, and I know that because on the referrals you can see which states are coming to Portland, where people from Portland are going out, and I can show you guys that maybe on Monday. So I'm going to go to New York, and now I'm going to I want to change it. Now I decided I want to go maybe to 300 people, and you can choose what type of property types you want to target. So if I want to just target single families, I can just target the single families. If I want to target multifamily, I can target multifamily. You can change the bedrooms, all of this information here. You can change to first class mail instead of standard mail. But this I thought was really cool on how you can target the addresses that you want. And I'm not going to go any further than that because that'll end up purchasing, and I don't want to do that right now. But this is just a simple, quick, and easy way for you to send out just listed postcards, just sold postcards, price change postcards. Currently, right now, it's only working. You have to have a listing address on the previous page to be able to do a mailer. It will not function without having an actual listing. So that's all.
Can it be somebody else's listing?
Yes, if you have their permission.
Well, I mean, for the address that you're doing the circle prospecting around? Does that have to be the same address as the actual listing address that you put in? Does that make sense?
Right. Well, what happens is as you go further through that, that address is going to populate onto the flyer or the postcard.
Oh, and you can't change that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'll play around with it.
Good question. Thank you, Tanya. That was really helpful. And I think that having Tanya just share some of these quick little things in Command that maybe aren't quite as intuitive, but have amazing functionality like that, some people might not even realize how easy that is. If you do need more help on Command, Tanya is going to continue to do her classes. If there's a specific topic that you need help on, reach out, share that idea. Maybe other people have that too, so we could share that tip on one of these calls, or Tanya could share a whole class on it. I've had a couple questions of people asking, how do I send an email to my whole database? So maybe that could be something, Tanya, just where to start and do some of even like the basic things like that.
Monday is going to be smart plans.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Tanya, thank you again. And yeah, reach out if you have questions or if you need help on Command. This is the time when some of you might have a little more downtime to get organized, learn a couple things in Command that you've kind of been putting off. So it's a great time for that. And let's see what else. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's talk a little bit more. Yeah, on Monday we have the life coaches, the wellness coaches. So that's going to be amazing. Get your, it probably won't be very business focused at all, just really your personal well-being. And then Tanya, Heather, anyone else want to chime in anything?
I do.
Melanie.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I just want to tell everyone that on Wednesday, we're going to have actually one of the Bold Pivot coaches. So Coach Jake, some of you have seen him before when we had our Bold team meeting. He did a great video for us, but he's going to be our featured guest on Wednesday. So you can hear a little bit more about that. And he's just going to also bring some really great mindset conversations. So look forward to that. And also on Wednesday, we're going to have another CE class about cybersecurity. So that's very timely. So we'll be bringing that to you on Wednesday as well. And with those, there's a little bit of pre-registration because of the CE credit. So just watch for those links so that you can get pre-registered. But we're excited about everything that we have coming up.
Awesome, Melanie. And when's the last day that people can sign up for Bold Pivot?
Yeah, so they've changed it just a little bit more. It's kind of, it keeps evolving as they're trying to make it as accessible and timely as possible. So actually it's, from what I'm understanding, it's pretty much open up until the day. They've kind of changed it, kind of what Susan said. She said 4 days of MAPS coaching because how it's working now is you have 2 days of sort of like the everyone class, and then you have 2 days of what they're calling Coach's Corner. So, which I'm thinking you'll kind of break into smaller groups. So they're just evolving it so it can be as helpful and, you know, effective for this time. So I think you have right up until the date that it starts, which is May 5th, to go ahead and register for that. So, and we've sent the link, but we'll of course be sending it again. And we have another flyer that you can be watching for, and, you know, on Facebook, your email and things like that.
So reach out to Melanie if you have any questions about Bold Pivot. But the $99 price point is pretty good.
Yep.
So if you've been hesitant about Bold in the past, that was a great time. So.
And that makes complete sense why they would do that, right? Susan just addressed that. They want to get as many people to be the first position realtors as they can. And so the timing happens to coincide with probably America, you know, getting back into gear. And so, you know, that's the big conversation right now, is doing those activities so that when the phones start ringing, the traffic starts happening, and the sales start happening, you're in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I totally agree. That's awesome. And kind of also like what Susan said, which is really great. It's not only is it putting you in the first position, you know, first realtor position business-wise, but it's also helping you with your mindset and, you know, trying to address these questions that Susan brought up, and kind of help you to continue to answer those, you know, throughout the month of May, so you can really, continue to work not only on your business, but your mindset in a really focused, dedicated way. So I think it's really great.
Wonderful. And Robin had asked in the chat, can we invite outside agents to that class or any of these?
Yes.
Absolutely. We have some guest agents probably on right now, because a lot of brokerages aren't offering as much information as we are. So please welcome anyone to join that class, even to join Bold Pivot itself. So great question, Robin.
Yep.
All right. Any final words, Dwight? That's all I got.
I think it's good. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yes. Have a great sunny weekend.
Have a great weekend.
See ya, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.